Welcome to Everweird, and this is session 3 of my solo delve into Gunderholfen using the BECMI rules from 1980s and 90s D&D. It's basic expert from the 80s. Let me do some corrections, first of all. Firstly, I had a viewer point out to me that I had just made an assumption on the long-felt map, which was I was just assuming 6-mile hexes, and that this was Longfelt, and this was Gunderholfen, and that was a really far way to travel. However, this map, which I did not realize, is 1 mile per hex. So I was compressing it to say it was 3 hexes and about 18 miles, but it works out to be about 18 miles just through the hexes on here. So I don't have to pull any punches or change anything here. There's a pretty easy trail to go to Gunderholfen. That's how I've been playing it anyway. I don't need to convert hexes or anything like that. Secondly, I continuously forgot in like every session that Talira, sort of the leader of this little gang, actually has a 10-foot pole. And I keep saying that no one has a 10-foot pole and they can't check for anything, which is totally wrong. So I figured there's no way to walk around a dungeon and not know you have a 10-foot pole. And because I have forgotten it consistently every time I have set up, I'm just going to say Talira does not have that 10-foot pole. She left it behind, thought she wouldn't need it, didn't understand why she had it, but that pole 10 feet is gone. So maybe she and Dobahai can have a conversation about why those are useful, and they will bring one in the future. But for now, when we last left off, my party of 5 adventurers had sheltered themselves in this room here, which was the first one they came into in Gunderholfen. They had defeated some kobolds there. They had fought some kobolds in this room and made their way to this cave. But once they got to the cave and they saw that it split off east and west, not knowing what lay before them, they decided to go back to the room they knew they could secure, and splitting up into guard shifts, they camped out here for the night. So I had rolled for encounters overnight, and they had none. They get up in the morning, or at least the person who has the last guard shift wakes the others up, and they began preparing for their day. During that last guard shift, I want to know if the kobolds from the other areas may have tried to get into this door. I do not have my yes and no die. So with the skull, the kobolds did try to get in. They did not. No kobolds tried to get into this door overnight. So things are relatively quiet. And my party wakes up, makes their way down the stairs after getting ready. Mainly their issue is that they only found about, 48 copper on the kobolds they took down last time. And they think, well, this isn't much of a treasure. It's nothing we can take back to Balfour, who is Talira's patron in the city. And Virago, the fighter in the group, is out of money. They spent their last money recruiting these people. There's no sense in them returning to the city, every other day to resupply. They have to move on. They have talked about, as they prepared for their day, what they saw yesterday. And what they saw were piles of excrement and food scraps. They found a room full of javelins that the kobolds were using to arm themselves. But basically, they found enough evidence that kobolds weren't civilizing this place. These were just little monsters that had overrun this first level of the dungeon. And they start to get rid of whatever misgivings they may have about fighting these creatures and certainly killing these creatures. And they decide like they're just sort of like pest control or something. They know that these monsters from Gunderholfen have occasionally escaped and terrorized townspeople and other nearby like villagers and things like that. So they're doing a service. That's what they decide. They're looking for treasure. They're trying to secure this place. They're trying to map it for Balfour, find some magical items so that Balfour will continue his patronage. And that's where they are. But they know also, as they've mapped this area and they've gone in these finished dwarven tunnels, they've stuck this one door here. So they know when they get back to this room right here, there's a possibility the kobold they trapped in there and maybe whatever else was on the other side of that door has escaped. And then they know as they came up here, there was a tunnel that went off. There was no door here. Dobahai, with his infravision, was able to see down this hall, see there was a doorway, another turn up ahead. But they did not want to go that way. They wanted to go to this door to the north. So they've got a couple of options as they get ready for the day. Are they going to maybe unstick this door and head to the west over here, find out what's there? Are they going to continue heading north through the caves? Or are they going to head to this eastern passageway? I think Balfour charged them and is paying them to map the settlement and the dungeon. So I think they're going to head east here to continue mapping. I know there's trouble behind this door. Maybe they're just hoping to wait it out and it won't escape. But this is their intention right now. As they come to this room, they have now established sort of a guard position where one of them is holding a torch. It is usually Genevieve, the other thief in the group. She is the weakest. She is standing behind, holding a torch, just hoping to throw its light ahead a little bit. Dobahai and Virago take up positions in the front. They push open the door. Those now that they are armed with javelins, they stand there and they're ready to throw a javelin if there's some threat on the other side of the door. So they come to this side of the door. I think there is maybe like a 1 in 6 chance that there's going to be a kobold in there. No. So they open this door and there's nothing there. Now they need to check to see if this door is still stuck. So the skull says it is not stuck. It is still stuck. So whatever is trapped back there, they know there's one kobold trapped back there. Maybe there's another way out. It certainly looks like it heads out in the direction that they came in. They try not to think about it. They head south. They come around here, and all of this right now, as they've moved through this much of the dungeon, prepared for this day, lit that torch, they are tracking them here on my dungeon tracker. So they've spent a turn doing that. They come down here. They head to the east and then up to the north, and then they head to the east again, and they are going to head down that tunnel. The first thing they see is a door to the north right there, and they take a deep breath. It's like, what's on the other side of this door? They can see from the light of their torch that this goes up. Presumably there's like another entrance or door right there, and something breaks off to the south here. So this hallway to the south, there's no door there, but they can't see around this corner up here to the north. And they think, it's our job to map this. Let's take up our positions. Genevieve positions herself with the torch. Virago and Dobahai will take up the front line. They are each holding a javelin. Irwin is right behind them with a javelin, and Talira takes her bow. So Genevieve is holding a shield and a torch. She has no weapon at the ready. She is simply the light for the others and hoping she doesn't get hit. Now they've practiced this move a couple of times. They feel pretty confident with it. Virago throws that door open. That door is not locked, so it throws right open, and they find themselves in it's about a 20 odd foot. It's kind of funny on the grid here, but it's just a square or rectangular room. And there are 5 kobolds there playing bones in this room. Are they surprised? Yes, they are surprised. There's a lit torch in this room. So our party, there are 5 in our party. There are 5 of these kobolds. And our party sees that there are bedrolls, straw mats, and worthless personal items littered around the room. There's also a couple of javelins. And these 5 kobolds, they think fast. Virago motions to Dobahai, get out of the room. Let's lock them in here. They are going to try to... do they want to do that? What's a reaction roll from these kobolds? Maybe I should see what that is. A 7. These monsters are cautious, and they don't really know what to expect. They see these armed humans and a dwarf and a halfling. It looks threatening, and they are just gambling, but I think both sides are just at a real impasse here, because my party knows that if they leave the kobolds here without a good way to lock them in this room, because this door opens inwards, I think they're having a hard time figuring this out. Okay. Here we go. The die of fate. The skull means they are going to fight the kobolds. There they go. They fight the kobolds, simplified initiative. The kobolds get the jump on them, but they are not armed. So 3 of these 5 jump up for... No, all 5 of them are just going to scatter for a javelin. They've all got to run across the room to grab a javelin. So that is their turn. Virago throws their javelin. Ooh, a 3. Misses one. Dobahai throws his javelin. Natural 20 hits one of the kobolds and does, well, I got to roll on a flat surface. That was totally unfair. Does 2 points of damage. Takes down the first kobold. Irwin throws her spear. A 12. Is that going to hit a kobold that is unarmored? Yeah, it's just going to hit. Takes out that second kobold. And now Talira fires her arrow, misses. So the kobolds, nope, roll for initiative. 4. My heroes get to go again. At this point, Virago's going to step and run into one of those kobolds, grabbing a javelin and take a swing with their sword. Natural 20 hits that kobold. 5 points of damage, takes out that kobold. Dobahai grabs another javelin, throws it at another kobold. 16 is going to hit their armor class of 7. Ooh, that one is still up. Irwin's going to grab another javelin. 5 misses. And Talira's going to take another shot. 15 is going to hit. Yep. And takes that one out. So there's really just one kobold standing. And my party is looking threatening. This kobold is probably has no morale. Yeah. And I believe the morale was an 8. I just rolled a 9. So this kobold is like freaked out, wants to run, can't run anywhere. I've seen its compadres like slain or horribly injured. So it's making surrender gestures and sounds and wants to give up. My party then, they're going to approach. Virago approaches with their sword out, just holding it menacingly at this kobold. And the others will cut off a length of rope and tie this kobold up and then stuff a rag from some of this like a bedroll that they've got around here, just sort of stuff it in the mouth of this kobold, hide it behind the door and walk out. They take a breath in that hallway. Whoever is doing the mapping like makes a mental note of what's going on. They've taken out 4 more kobolds there. So I forgot to do this. There were 2 kobolds here, 3 kobolds here, 2 kobolds here, 4 kobolds plus the one they left alive here. They do search around this time. They're a little bit smarter about that. 8 copper pieces. That's it. Kobolds are not hoarding a lot of treasure. It's almost like they're just trying to survive here. My party leaves. They talk about what to do. This entrance to the south is open, and as they peek around the corner here, they see that this is in fact a door. So they think we'd better head to the south. It's open and we have to deal with that. Dobahai is going to go first, even though this torchlight has probably, thrown like sort of an arc of light out to about there as they've discussed it here at the end of the hallway. The others stay where they are. Dobahai sneaks up here to look around the corner. And what he sees is a rectangular room. I'm not really sure what this object is. And if you're wondering, I have the map on my iPad off camera. So that's what I'm looking at to get these, to get the layout of the place. There's a curtain back here. This is the fountain room. Dobahai, as he sneaks around, sees that there are 3 kobolds in this room. He sees that by the center of the south wall is a fountain. It doesn't appear to be running right now. And then there's just like kind of a old blue curtain right here. Dobahai reports to the party. There's 3 more in that room. There's an old fountain. I think we can get the jump on if we run in. There's nothing here to indicate that there's like a source of light in that room. And that room is 40 feet across. Okay. They get in a line, sort of where Dobahai was at this corner. Dobahai, Virago, Irwin, Talira. Genevieve is standing at the end of the hall, making sure her light doesn't sort of get to the end there. I need to keep track of how many javelins I just spent, so I'll flip this to see how many arrows I recover. 1. So Talira loses 1 arrow. How many javelins can I get back? If they threw about 6, let's just see. I only get 2 back. So the others break off into the wall. So they trade around so that Irwin has a couple in her pack ready to go. Creep up to the end of this hallway, and they have a plan that's like Dobahai's going to shout, and everyone will flood in, and Genevieve will come running in with the torch so that they can see, but Genevieve will immediately take cover behind her shield. So they run in. I'm going to roll the same surprise roll since that was indicated in the book for that last, which was on a 1 through 3. The kobolds are surprised. They are surprised. I guess that doesn't matter. I could have just rolled initiative. Dobahai throws that javelin. Dobahai has no dex bonus, and so misses. Yeah, he misses. Virago comes in, throws, misses. Irwin just hits. Does 3 points of damage. Takes down... No, does not take down one of the kobolds. That kobold is reduced to 1. And then Talira shoots an arrow, and natural 1 misses that terribly. So an awful showing, but I think as they run down, they yell, Dobahai grunts to signal them all, and they run in, but Genevieve is behind them, the light's behind them. They don't have a good idea of where they are. They're shooting at shadows, throwing javelins at shadows, and one of them hit, but the others missed terribly, and that one that hit didn't do anything. The one that is hit screams and runs through this door right here, slamming the door as it runs through. Okay, so there's 2 kobolds, and neither has been hit. I roll for initiative. My party goes first. That's lucky. Virago does the same thing as last time, runs up to one with their sword. 11. Nope, they don't have a plus to their strength. They swing and miss at that. Oh my gosh, it's just the battle is not going their way. They got a little cocky on that last one. Dobahai grabs another javelin off his pack. 2 misses terribly. Irwin, another javelin. Throws it. 6 misses terribly. Talira, is she panicked? 11 also misses. Wait, does Talira have a bonus? Talira does not have a bonus. Misses. Again, every single one of them missed. Virago sees that this is bad. The one that went through the door could be retrieving reinforcements. This could be bad. That other kobold does not come back out of the hallway. So next round, wait, that was my initiative. These 2 kobolds, short sword and a javelin. Did I forget to roll for him last time? Oh my god. One goes after Virago. Natural 20 hits Virago for 2 points of damage. Virago has 4 hit points as a fighter and is now down at 2. The other one grabs its javelin, and rather than throw it, it is going to run at Irwin and try to stab her. A 7, fortunately, does not hit her. Okay, so we're back to the top of the round. Initiative. The kobolds get to go first. I do check morale, but it doesn't... I mean, that doesn't seem real fair. Actually, the kobolds' morale is a 6. So they're definitely frightened. A lot of things are being thrown around. They're clearly outnumbered. They're not feeling the advantage that they seem to have, which is that my party is just rolling like total crap. So the other 2 of these kobolds run through that door. Better to escape on their initiative than face another round of fighting. So that's what they're going to do. They run through that door, and my party is left there breathing heavily. Virago, by all accounts, appears to be their strongest member, although they aren't, is hurt, down to half HP. Talira tries to attend to Virago. Neither of them has any medical skill. They didn't pick up a health kit. I forgot to ask Balfour for healing potions, although that was a remote possibility that he would give them any. They walk over to the center, this fountain in the center, and look in. It's just murky green water. They don't have enough experience with things like this to figure out when to test out water or other strange things in dungeons to know if it's possibly magic or beneficial. So they just look at it, doesn't look fit to drink. They take a couple of sips of their water skin. Virago says, we need to keep going, but I'm going to have to hang back. So Dobahai and Irwin agree to take up the front positions, and Virago equips them with their javelins. And rather than Virago taking a javelin, they will take up their sword. It does more damage, and they seem to be a little bit more confident with it. So in that fight, I believe we threw 4 javelins. How many do they get back? They get 2 back. So they're going to lose 2 javelins. That's what they're doing. They're going to keep moving on. They don't want to linger in this room too long to search it. So I don't want to mark out a full turn on the time tracker. They know something is, this is some scary circumstances. They're faced with they can keep pressing on. They can go back up here to this door. They can maybe see what's going on with this curtain. I think that's what they're going to do. They walk over to the curtain. They're really just checking to see if there's kobolds hiding behind it, if something's going to jump out. Hirewin and Dobahai hold javelins at the ready, and Virago pushes this curtain aside with their sword. This curtain is half rotten, and it's just barely hanging there. But as they push it aside, there is a passageway that's revealed, and they see that there's a hall that leads deeper to the east. So will they head east, north? They can still go to this cave. Let's say 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're not going in that door where all the kobolds ran through. So a 2. They decide that cave looked a little bit easier to defend ourselves in. We've got a map no matter where we go. Let's get out of here. Let's retreat a little bit, get to that cave and just explore there for a while. Maybe we won't, it seems like we're running into these monsters in their own home. And although we're getting the jump on them, we are not fighting well today. So they head up to the cave. That will take an entire dungeon round. And I will roll for wandering monsters. There are none. Yeah, so they make their way back up here. They go through this door where they were the previous day, where they found these 2 sentries. There is a pit there that is just an open pit, and there's water dripping down from the ceiling and trickling down from the walls. When they came in, the kobolds were watching to the north. In fact, one of them ran up here to try to escape when they slew it. So they see that the cave breaks off to the east and the west. All right. Evens, they go west. Odds, they go east. Odds. They head east. There's a short little curve up here in the cave, and then they can see it opens into a much wider space. Very wide, like 50 to 70 feet wide, and they have advanced several pages into the book. They are going cautiously, of course. They are still on their first torch, and Genevieve is still carrying that. As they walk in here, though, what they see is a myriad of giant exotic toadstools and fungi. This is a broad natural cave that they see. The ceiling is resplendent with hanging stalactites of brown and cream-colored shades. Water drips steadily down from the ceiling to the host of mushrooms below. There are obvious tracks here. They look like small creatures, probably about the size of the creatures they've encountered so far, and many of the mushrooms show signs of being harvested. So the fact that some of these mushrooms are cleanly cut leads them to believe that they are edible. Some of these toadstools are gigantic. In fact, so big that they block out light. And once the party takes just like a couple of steps into this room, they realize that they're going to have to huddle close to Genevieve or they're going to have to light another torch. The ceiling keeps going up. Okay, what direction are they going to head? I'm going to roll an 8-sided die, and we're just going to go like north, northeast, east, southeast, south, etc. So north it is. They start to creep north. So they're heading in this direction, moving very slow because they've only got about 10 feet of illumination from each torch. It's very dark in here. And they're just seeing these gigantic mushrooms and toadstools. They feel like they've gone to another world all of a sudden. They were in these very polished dwarven rooms that the kobolds had overtaken, and then they're in a cave that looked just like any other normal cave, and then all of a sudden they're in a mushroom forest. As they head north for a round, they're going to see that the cave breaks off here to the west. There's still more to go around here. In fact, they're thinking like maybe it's a pretty good idea to just sort of cling to the walls of the cave to go around this, but they're wondering about going to the west. So do they go to the west? We'll say the skull is no and a blank is yes. No, they do not go to the west. They continue moving around to the east, watching their way as they go through this cave. As they come around, this is going to take at least another turn as they are exploring. They're not really finding anything except for these giant mushrooms. Does my party take some of the mushrooms to see if they can eat them later? Skull is no. Okay, so yes, they take a few mushrooms. How many ration-sized mushrooms do they get? They get 2. So they get 2 rations of mushrooms. As they continue to come around the side of the cave, I'm going to mark off another turn and roll for wandering monsters. 3. There are no wandering monsters. What they see in the distance, I guess, because they're tall, are that there are 3 natural columns of rock here. Dobahai is leading the way. Virago is standing or is walking about 10 feet behind, holding one of the torches. Irwin is in between them, so Irwin's second. And as the party just sort of walks up here, Dobahai will be the first to step past those columns. And what I see in the adventure is that the first PC to move past these columns is attacked by a Mantari. And I don't know what that is, so I'm going to look it up. Oh boy, so there's no Mantari in the Gunderholfen monsters. This is just a monster I've never come across before. Okay. There's no Mantari in the rules cyclopedia either. What the heck is a Mantari, man? Oh, gross. Mantari, according to what I've just looked up, is a man-sized flying manta ray, which is dark gray in color. This thing swoops at Dobahai. Oh my gosh. This is terrible. It has a +2 to attack, so it comes in at Dobahai. 9, so it's rolled an 11. Dobahai's AC is a 4, so that goes a 17. 9 plus 4 is 13. It does not hit despite its +2. Wait, it's got 17. It needs to just, okay, yeah. Don't need to do that. 13. It needs to roll 13. It missed. So it's this Mantari swoops down at Dobahai. He sees the shadow above coming through the mushrooms and ducks, which is great because it does a ridiculous amount of damage. Although this says that it isn't actually a small one. So maybe it's not quite man-sized, maybe just like dog-sized. What do? They don't really know how to fight this thing, so I don't even think they want to, I want to roll to see if they stay and fight because it's flying around. Talira may just try to get a shot off with her bow. That's what she does as it swoops by. Woof. She's going to miss, so out one more arrow that goes flying off into this cave. Iron's just caught up in it. She's going to throw a javelin, but with a -2 here because this just seems so unreasonable. Yeah, and that's not going to hit either. So she loses another javelin that goes thrown away into the night. I don't know why I said night, into the cave. But I think other than that, they kind of want to make a break for it. They can tell that the cave here narrows a bit. The walls they were following, they can see a wall to the south. It looks kind of like they could make a run for it. So they are going to run through here. I know from the book that there's nothing else in here. Do they go north or south? I think they're going to stick to the north. No, let me do an even. Let's say there's a 1 in 6 chance they go to the south. 3. They do not go to the south. So they stick to the north here. And as they are moving swiftly along this wall, they come across a pile of bones. And amongst the bones is a suit of plate mail. Are they going to stop and try to pick up this plate mail? It's human-sized. This could really help one of them out. Virago shouts, everyone take up positions and guard. I'm going to grab this plate mail. So Virago is going to grab it. There is a non-zero chance that Mantari is swooping back around. Let's say it's like a 70% chance that Mantari knows where they are. 79 or 76, I guess, whatever that is. 79? 76? So it, regardless, does not go under 70. They see the Mantari swooping around in the distance. Virago puts their sword away and quietly collects this plate armor, but their arms are now full, and they have to pass off their torch to Irwin. So Irwin is holding a javelin, and actually Irwin puts the javelin back on her pack and pulls out her spear and holds the torch in the other hand as best she can. They continue moving along the wall. They see that it turns to the south, and they see ahead that there is some sort of a passageway that leads off there. So they duck into that passageway in order to get away from this Mantari. This passage in the east slopes up gently, and it leads to the next level of the dungeon. Switching to an actual dot grid page here so that I can map a little bit better. I think catch their breath in this tunnel because they can easily guard, and they're going to, so another round passes. This is going to be their 10 minutes of rest right now. They're going to go down one torch. One of Genevieve's torches is gone, and they're going to have to light another. They have Virago's torch right now, so they'll just light Genevieve's just at the top of the hour just to keep things a little bit nicer on my sheet. But who can wear this plate mail? That's going to be a big question here. Oh, by the way, this is my basic D&D reference sheet. I'm pretty sure you can find these anywhere. I made this one for my players. I guess I can link it in the description here in case anyone's interested in just a one page of like explaining some stuff to new BX players. Okay, so Irwin and Dobahai are really too small to wear this. I don't think the thieves want to wear plate, and Virago's wearing plate already. Yeah, thieves can't wear leather. Oof. Okay, so as a dungeon master, I would probably make some sort of allowance here for allowing like a dwarf to wear human-sized armor. Even though this specifies that it's human size, I would say that, you know, maybe it turns into just like a plate shirt or something. So plate mail is a 3 armor class. What is Dobahai wearing? Dobahai has chainmail on. This isn't going to help Dobahai out either. So they get to the hallway, they sort of examine it, and they decide they're going to leave it behind. But there was a pile of bones with this plate mail around it. You know, it definitely looks like there was someone here that was a human who didn't make it out, for sure. So they come down this side of the cave. The passage is dark gray and black stone. It's about 12 feet high, and it was sloping gently up. They come to this corner, and they do their usual. Genevieve, or Virago's holding the torch now, and hangs back, like right here, sort of so the light doesn't get thrown there. Dobahai peers around with his infravision, and he sees a door. They know what's been behind doors before, so they start to take up their positions, knowing what they might have to do. Virago hands the torch off to Genevieve. Genevieve is now holding the torch around the corner, and Virago's down on hit points, so they are still going to stand behind Irwin and Dobahai. I guess Virago's going to throw the door open and then take cover so that Irwin and Dobahai can take on anything that might be in this room ahead. Virago throws that door open. Okay, I had rules earlier about on a 1 through 3, the kobolds were surprised when you entered a room, but that's the same exact odds as initiative. So I think there's maybe a better way to say this, which is like on a 6, whatever's in this room is not surprised. On any other roll, my party gets to act first. Okay, the door swings open, and my party sees 3 guards in here that do not look like kobolds. These creatures have this sort of green-gray skin, pointy ears, and they look monstrous. These look like what my party has heard of as being goblins. And Virago, in fact, with their more experience in fighting and training for adventures, identifies them as such and just shouts, "Goblins!" to everyone. The goblins get to act first. They are holding slings, I believe. Yep, their slings are a D4. The first one goes after Dobahai. Whoa. 14. They have a -1 in their THACO, so it's a 13. I don't think that's going to hit Dobahai. It was a 4 AC, so that is not going to hit. It's not going to do 3 points of damage. The next one shoots its sling at Irwin. Misses as well. So these 2 little sling bullets come flying through the room. Third one, 1 to 2, it's Dobahai. 3 to 4, it's Irwin. 5 to 6, it's Virago. Okay, Dobahai. It throws its sling at Dobahai. 19 does hit. Wow, Dobahai is hit for 3 points of damage. This sling just really nails Dobahai right between the eyes, in fact. Dobahai, that hurt. Dobahai is down to 2 hit points. Does my party charge in? The skull says yes. They do not charge in. Virago steps up, slams the door closed. This is one of those parts where solo game playing, like I know what happens if they step in that room. And I don't want to metagame it at all. I also don't know what they're going to do because they've seen this room. They've seen that there's some sort of passage off to the east. They know if they go back, they've got to deal with that cave that's covered in mushrooms. And that cave has the Mantari swooping around in there. Whew, this is a tough choice. They hear the goblin voices on the other side. I kind of know that I saved my party by rolling for them not to go in. They decide to backtrack. So they figure the safest place to be right now is right here, where someone can keep watch on that door if the goblin should appear through it, and they can watch for the Mantari if it comes swooping in through the hallway to the west. They sit there, they take their break, their hour expires, they light up a new torch, they eat some of those mushrooms. It turns out the mushrooms are fine, there's no harm done, it's just like a pretty decent ration for them. They decide they're going to head back through that cave, possibly explore whatever it was that they missed out on to the northwest. So they come back through here, and this time they decide they're going to cling to the southern wall. They're going to start going in this direction. They take up those positions. Dobahai is now down to 2 hit points. Virago's also down to 2 hit points. But Dobahai still has the best chance of seeing with his infravision. So he takes up the lead. I guess right when they come out to the end of this tunnel, they're going to douse one of those torches. Talira takes up the 3rd position with her bow, and Virago's holding the torch and in the center. Dobahai is behind Virago, and Genevieve is sort of huddled behind Dobahai, very frightened. She has 1 hit point. She's holding that shield to cover herself as best as possible. Irwin and Talira are in the lead. Irwin has traded her spear for another javelin. Talira has knocked an arrow into her short bow. Talira is scanning the ceiling and the skies for that Mantari, and Irwin is scanning ahead of the whole party, like through this mushroom forest, to see if there's anything approaching on the ground. They take 10 minutes. As they walk through, they're moving pretty slow. They make it up to those columns again. And I'm going to roll a Wandering Monsters check. Well, I lost total control of that, and that's a Wandering Monster. Okay. Horrible roll off of that, but they did encounter something. Holy crap. Okay. Irwin sees something moving in the distance. It is 2d6 times 10 feet away. It's 50 feet away. It is, in fact, a pack of giant rats. A pack of giant rats! There's 7 of them! Fortunately, these rats are cautious. That's the reaction roll. They may see my party, but the rat in the lead kind of moves away, starts steering his pack of rats away. My party is going to cling to the southern wall, and they are going to move very slowly. Irwin tells them, huddle up. There's a pack of rats. Brandish steel if you got it. Knock your bows. Get your javelins ready. Ooh, Virago is in a tough position here. Doesn't know whether to trust their javelin throwing or their swords personship. Decides for the range. Virago, as quietly as possible, slides that sword back in its sheath. One of their torches is burning low already. They stab it out on the wall, so it's a little bit darker here. Genevieve pulls out her dagger. They decide that Virago will continue carrying the other torch. Genevieve's got a shield up and their dagger. Dobahai has a shield up and a dagger. Virago does not have their shield up. Virago has a javelin and a torch. Irwin has a javelin and another one ready to go if anything comes at them. So they continue walking, and the instructions on the encounter roll said to roll in one more round. A 7. The monster is still cautious, so the rats are still making their way, sort of, keeping their distance from my party. Have they moved away at all? Counter distance is 2d6 times 10, 70 feet. They were 50 feet to begin with, so yeah, they've moved away a bit, and my party keeps moving along this wall. A round later, the rats can see that the party's now, probably 100 plus feet away. The rats are still indifferent and cautious. So I think this encounter is going to pass where the rats, 7 of these giant rats, are pushing their way through the mushrooms, stopping to nibble here and there, and the party gets by without having to attack them. One more turn passes in the dungeon. Now they know they have to make it all the way to the north there, so it's going to take them another turn to get up here, and another one as they get near the entrance. And I'm rolling another Wandering Monsters check. No Wandering Monsters. They get to the entrance. They know where they are. They decide to continue heading north. Another 10 minutes passes, another turn, and they see that passage ahead. As best as they can, they take their 10-minute rest in the dungeon, and they light up another torch. Someone is going to knock out a torch here, and the next torch lights up, and they head out to that westerly cave passage thing. As they take a peek in there, they can see that this cave has beautiful purple crystal shards jutting out of the ceiling and the walls. Their one little torch, the light from it is refracting and multiplying, sending these purple rays of light bouncing off the walls and ceiling. There's sort of a vibration in the room that they can feel in their skin, like there's sort of a prickle. They don't really know what this is, but they all feel a sense of calm as they walk in here. Perhaps it's the light. Perhaps there's something about that shade of purple, like something that feels a little bit magical. So one thing that my characters don't have a good way of knowing, and this is one of those like metagaming things, because I'm reading the book, I can see that the crystals radiate magic if detect magic is cast upon them. Staying in this room will heal the characters at a rate of 1 HP per full hour, but the time must be passed without break or nothing will happen. They feel this sense of calm. They've had a very hectic, tense, a couple of encounters here. I think there's a 90% chance that they're going to hang out in this room for a minute. Okay, they hang out in this room. We'll see if they stay the whole hour. They hang out for at least 10 minutes. They feel safe in here. One of the things about it is that because the light is refracting, they can see everywhere in this small room. They feel like they can see everywhere, and they talk about what to do next. They've only actually been in the dungeon for 2 hours. Assuming they woke up pretty early and got started pretty early, it's not even midday. Like it's very early. 2 of them are badly hurt. One of them, whoever they have decided is their mapper, is sort of furiously drawing what they've seen so far and wondering where they should go next. They see that this cave sort of continues in this direction to the west, but they can't see too far up there to see what's around it. They still feel like the natural caverns weren't really what they were meant to be mapping, but they're not sure, if this counts for Balfour. So as best they can, and surely this is a giant mess because this is like the mushroom room. Yeah, so they don't really know what the size of that room is. They just know where they walked. They're going to spend another turn in here. Wandering Monsters check. Okay, so they're not going to get this whole hour because they're not going to be able to spend it in a break because that is a positive Wandering Monsters check. And what Wandering Monsters to their eyes does appear, but a whole bunch of kobolds. There are D6 kobolds. One lonely kobold comes wandering in here. Okay. Evens, it's west. Odds, it's east. Evens. He comes from the west, so ahead of them. And at this moment is about 100 feet away. So yeah, they see a kobold wandering in. Maybe they will get their rest after all. This kobold is sort of wandering towards them in the distance. Yeah, it just says the time must be spent without break, not that the time can't be spent fighting. So the time can't break, but they don't have to be on a break. They sort of creep around here so that they're around this corner so the kobold won't see them as it comes in. And Talira knocks an arrow to her bow. And as soon as that little kobold is within distance, she fires. 10. It's not going to hit that kobold. This arrow zings off the crystals, shattering a couple and knocking them off the wall. And I think the kobold's going to run. So I'm going to roll a reaction. Their morale is a 6, but I'm going to put a +2 on that. Yeah, so they run. They run back to the west. My party, I think on a 6, they're going to give chase. No, they don't give chase. They just continue to enjoy the calm energies in here, pass another 10 minutes, but they figure they've got the hang of this. They can just sit here and sort of soak this in. They do see that some of the crystals broke off. So Talira's going to go over to that wall, and with her dagger, she's going to break off a couple of other crystals. What I see, and this is for me, the DM, the crystals will lose their magical healing quality within a day, but if kept in possession for this time, they will double the natural healing rate of the character for this day. Talira puts a few crystals in her pack, and if she gets hurt, then tonight when she rests, she'll just recover double rather than 1 hit point, she'll recover 2. Does anyone else grab crystals? 4 through 6, they do? They do. Does Virago? Virago grabs some crystals. Does Dobahai? Dobahai grabs some crystals. Irwin does not grab any crystals. Genevieve grabs crystals. So Irwin's the only one who doesn't grab any crystals. Everyone else is going to double their healing tonight as they knock a couple of these crystals off the wall. But basically, they spend the rest of this hour here. They rest. I'm going to roll for another Wandering Monsters check. 5. The Wandering Monsters check, I believe in Gunderholfen, is actually not once per turn, but once per hour, I think. So I am doing it more frequently, just like sticking to the normal Wandering Monsters setup in Old School Essentials. Anyway, that they spend the hour here, so that means that Dobahai and Virago feel themselves recover a hit point. Dobahai now has 3 hit points, and Virago is also going to have 3. But yeah, they recover a hit point. And they march on. They head to the west. Despite that kobold being there, they figure that's the best passage. And I'm kind of running out of space here. I've got to fill in the map, even though I'm not supposed to know what it is. And it comes down to this other room here. Water trickles down the walls, forming small puddles on the floor. The floor is densely covered in mushrooms and fungi. They can see tracks crossing the room. Of course, the kobold came from here, so they understand that. The exit to the west has a shallow 5-foot ceiling. The one to the north is 12 feet high. So as they were coming through here, they all had to duck to get through there. And they see the tracks in this room, and they see that this room branches off here to the north and also to the south. They do not know how these things connect. 1 through 3, they go north. 4 through 6, they go south. They go north. So they continue heading north. I do not like this because, like you, I saw the name of one of these rooms on a page. I'm going to map a little bit here. One room is kind of squirrely. They, of course, don't know that these things end. As they walk up, they see that this northern passage breaks to the west. Do they go in that first passage, or do they continue north? 4 through 6, they continue north. They continue north. So they decide to skip this one passage. Maybe they think the kobold went in there. They head up to this most northerly cavern. They see that this cavern has a low 4 to 5 foot high ceiling, and the west wall is just riddled with tiny tunnels. That doesn't sound good. Each is about 1 foot wide. There are bones littering the floor near the tunnel entrances, and they hear the sound of rats squeaking and scuttling about. So as soon as they get close to this room, they're starting to hear rats squeak and scuttle. Dobahai goes up to peer in that room as best he can without alerting the rats. So they're going to hang back with the torches so far. He sees those tunnels in the western wall. Also, it's good that Dobahai does this because he can fit in this shorter space. Okay, so what I see is the giant rats will appear, but there's nothing in Gunderholfen about like rolling to see if they appear or what happens. It just says they appear and attack, and they will swarm out. 20 giant rats. Okay. To me, it doesn't make sense that the giant rats would swarm out if I have only one character up there and he's not using a torch or anything like that. So I want to do a roll that makes it kind of fair. I think it's just going to be a 50-50. The skull means the rats come out. The rats do not come out. So he hears this squeaking. He sees all these rats. He sees that this room just sort of ends in a dead end, except for those tunnels. And he signals to the party to shut up and let's check out this next room. They head a little bit south, and then they go to the west again. Yeah, there's a pillar of natural rock in the middle of this room. So they wander in, and there is no description of this room other than the title of it, which I don't know if that's on camera. But yeah, we all know what it is right now. So they walk around it. There's no rats. There's no nothing. They possibly let their guard down a little bit, which is not great. Virago has a torch. By the way, I got to the end of that round, so I need to strike off the end of those 6 turns, so I need to strike off another torch. Virago wants to have their shield and sword in hand. So Genevieve, unfortunately, basically draws the short straw, and she has to take up the torch wielding duties. And then they just take up their normal positions. Irwin, Dobahai, and Virago in the lead, and Talira and Genevieve in the rear. If you can read ahead, the ghoul that occupies this room is hiding behind this pillar, trying to surprise the party and attack from the rear when they enter. Undead move silently, so even if my thieves could hit their 10% of hearing noises, they wouldn't hear anything. So I think I'm just going to roll 1 through 3. My party is surprised. Yep, my party gets surprised. Genevieve is in the back. Unfortunately, she is the one that the ghoul is going to target. Okay. This ghoul sneaks up from around this pillar. Genevieve in the rear, holding the torch, huddled behind her shield, expecting only like nasty animals or monsters, not the incorporeal undead. And this ghoul strikes out at her, tries to touch her. Oof. It has a +3. And it rolls a natural 20. She is not great. She gets hit, and she is paralyzed. I'm going to look up ghouls in the rules cyclopedia and play it off that way. Probably even worse. So here's a ghoul. Any hit from a ghoul will paralyze any creature of ogre size or smaller unless they make a saving throw versus paralysis. Okay, so Genevieve feels this ghostly touch go through her, and she has to save against paralysis. She has a 13 in her paralysis save. Natural 1. She is paralyzed. So here's a great place where, like in BECMI, I don't know what paralysis means, but it looks like once an opponent is, I guess it just means paralyzed. It's not like a condition like in 5e. Once an opponent is paralyzed, the ghoul will turn and attack another opponent, continuing until either the ghoul or all the opponents are paralyzed or dead. This paralysis lasts 2d4 turns unless magically cured. Okay. So Genevieve is going to be paralyzed for 6 turns. That is an entire hour. The ghoul will then turn to the next person in line, which is Talira. Does Talira react? I think the chances of this ghoul surprising the next person they're kind of decreasing. So if it was a 1 through 3 that it surprised them that first time, I'm just going to say it surprises them on a 1-2 right now. It does not. So Talira, out of the corner of her eye, yeah, Genevieve's holding the torch. She sees Genevieve, the light falls. Talira turns around and screams, "What is this?" And we roll for initiative. My party gets to act first. I'm almost positive that the undead are going to be immune to all attacks. Does that say anything? Maybe the ghoul is not incorporeal. Maybe I'm wrong. A ghoul is just like a resurrected undead, or maybe not even maybe not resurrected, but never actually fallen. Yeah, they have no real memories of their former lives. They do not talk. They have a little more than animal intelligence. So it sounds like it's a physical creature. I'm not seeing anything here that says that it cannot be hurt. Talira screams. My characters have initiative. I'm trying to stick to the normal like combat round, which is morale, movement, missiles, magic, and melee. Nobody's going to do any movement. They're all within 5 feet of this thing, so they're just going to be able to take like a step towards it to strike it. But missiles, that will be Talira. So Talira fires her bow, and a 6 is not going to hit that ghoul. She is so scared, fires off an arrow. It does not hit the ghoul. Irwin throws that javelin, misses. Oh my God. Dobahai, javelin, natural 20. 2 points on that ghoul. Virago steps up, holding their shield up, just trying as best as possible not to get hit by this thing, swings their sword. Natural 1. Misses terribly. And this ghoul is going to get to strike again. Virago has stepped closest. It goes for Virago. 16 is definitely going to hit. Yeah, because it's got a +3. And 19 is going to hit Virago's armor class. I think Virago's armor class is a 3. Yeah. Okay. Virago now has to save versus paralysis. And Virago's paralysis save as a fighter is not good. 16 or higher. 11. Virago is paralyzed. Virago will be paralyzed for 2 turns. Okay, so Virago's down. Top of the round. Let me read more about that tactic. The ghoul will continue paralyzing. So here's what I'm confused by. It does have damage in here. I don't understand why it's different. Because it has 3 attacks. Oh my god. That's what it's doing. Well, I messed that up completely. It has 3 attacks. So my party is fighting a much easier ghoul that only has 1 attack per round. But however I play it, it's going to kill Genevieve. And Virago only has 3 hit points. Okay. It only takes 1 hit point from Virago. Thank goodness. I think my party doesn't realize quite yet that Genevieve has passed. And they're not going to believe it when they find out because they knew Genevieve was being so cautious and so protective of herself. All right. Top of the round. The ghoul goes first. The ghoul is going to step up and try to get Dobahai. 1. It misses. Thank God. Dobahai throws another javelin into it. A 15. Dobahai hits and does 5 points of damage. Right. And I didn't do any other damage to it. So Irwin, javelin. 19 hits. Kills the ghoul. This undead creature falls. My party has never seen anything like this. They are absolutely terrified. They think that both Genevieve and Virago have collapsed. They think that this paralysis is all that's affecting them. They don't know what to do. They don't really have any means of healing either of them. As they kneel to check for vital signs, they can tell that Virago's heart is still beating. They are still breathing. They do the same for Genevieve and realize that she is not breathing. Genevieve has, in fact, passed. I'm not doing the death saves to keep them alive. Or do I want to do that for every turn or every hour? How do I want to do that? I think that if they could, they're deep in here. They don't know that this southern path connects here. They think that they have to go back through this room. They're not totally sure. They might guess. But maybe if they could, they would carry Genevieve's body all the way back here. It's still early in the morning. It's not worth them camping. Would they head back to Longfelt with Genevieve's body if Genevieve could hang in there with death saves? Let's play that out. Let's say that I do a death saving throw every hour on the dungeon time tracker as they are running out of here. I'm going to estimate every 10 minutes that they can get, and they're moving slowly because they're carrying Genevieve. I'm going to check this off. Every hour, at the end of the hour, Genevieve's going to do a death save. Once they get out of Gunderholfen and they are making their way back to Longfelt looking for help, that's going to take 2 entire watches, and Genevieve will do a check on those 2 watches, a death save to see if they can stay alive. Genevieve's death save is a 13. It's not great. It's not terrible. The party has to wait 20 minutes. Not sure what to do with Virago. They don't have to wait. They drag both of these bodies out. Between the 3 of them, they can carry Genevieve quite easily. Dobahai can carry Genevieve, and Irwin and Talira are carrying Virago, but it is very slow moving. So within 10 minutes, they only get to the front of this cave. It takes them another 10 minutes just to get down here, and they decide to just keep moving south, hoping that it turns out where they think it will. So another 10 minutes, they get down there. Another 10 minutes, they're going to realize that they've seen this place before. They see that pit in front of them. Virago comes too. So Virago is weakened, took a hit, lost a hit point, but they continue moving south. I got 2 more turns until Genevieve awakens. But now that Virago's awake, they can make some real time. So within a turn, they can probably get down all the way to this room, I'm guessing. I mean, they're being a little bit cautious. And then on the next turn, they can get out. So they get out of the dungeon. And Genevieve is going to do her first death save. And she does not make it. They get out of the dungeon, and Genevieve still does not have a heartbeat, is not breathing, and they realize that they've lost another companion here. And a companion who was very cautious and trying to protect herself and seemed like a real friend, didn't seem to be doing this for any ulterior motives. But they're out. Now that they're out, they're thinking about, is it worth it to go back in? Where would they go? Or do they just keep heading back to the city? There's a really, really low chance that they go back in. Let's say it's a 10% chance that they go back into this thing. I think they just need to, I think it's like a 5% chance. Yeah, 32. They don't have much money. They haven't found much treasure. They've gained little experience. They've lost another companion. So they begin this 18-mile hike through the swamp back to the city of Longfelt, where they will lay the body of their companion to rest and maybe report to Balfour, show him the crystals that they found. So on their first watch, as they walk back, once again, they're going to get back to the city in the middle of the night. Any wandering monsters? No. Thank goodness. And on their second watch, as they arrive back at the city, coming out of the swamp, no wandering monsters. They get back to Longfelt. They wrap up Genevieve as best they can. How grim. They know if they leave her body outside the city, it will certainly be taken by scavengers, carrion creatures or something. But it's nighttime and they can't get her to any kind of medical office, or not that anyone could revive her, but they don't know how to get her any assistance. I'm going to look up in Gunderholfen to see if there is like an undertaker or a mortician or anything like that they may have listed in here. If nothing else, they can ask the guards at the gates what to do. I think they may go to the Temple of Cathelia, if they can go nowhere else. Yeah. So at the guardhouse, they tell the guards the situation. We've lost a companion who fell in combat with a ghoul, some kind of undead creature. Guards are alarmed, but they hear that it was far off in the mountains, and they can't believe they've hiked across the Gonfall swamp with this body. They advise that the party go to the Temple of Cathalea, who is the main deity of Longfelt, a neutral good goddess of the harvest in Z. So they're going to have to hike across the city with this body to the temple, and it's late at night. The temple is, it's not open or active. They knock on the door for a couple of hours when finally like a very exhausted priestess comes to the door, or a cleric or some staff member. They tell their story. They are allowed in. They take the body to a resting place and leave it there with a shroud over it. And then they are offered to stay here for the night. And the priestess tells them they will be fed and that at least they can mourn here until the morning. And that's where we'll end this session. In the Temple of Cathalea, everyone has some healing crystals with them. Irwin takes those from Genevieve. They're going to gain twice their normal healing overnight. So Dobahai will be back up to full health. I don't think Virago will, because Virago took damage from the ghoul and is down to 2. So Virago's going to gain... Oh, no. Virago will be back to 4. Great. I believe they'll all be back to full health in the morning, and they'll be able to talk to Balfour and show him the crystals, which may count as some kind of magical item that they needed to find. And then I'm going to add up some experience points that they've definitely gained and possibly reevaluate their inventory again. But that will continue in session 4.